Hello, viewers of the future. This is me of the past. By the time you are seeing this, I have hopefully completed a journey to read the entire long list for the Republic of Consciousness Prize for the US and Canada. This is a literary prize that celebrates small publishers and the kind of risk-taking, boundary-pushing fiction that they put out into the world for readers like you and me to discover. This prize started in the UK about 9 years ago, and for the past 3 years there has also been a branch of the prize for American and Canadian publishers. And I have read the full long list for the past 2 years and plan to do the same for this year, the 3rd year in a row. And by the time you are seeing this, hopefully I have completed that list. If you are seeing this, I have completed that list of 10 books on the long list for the Republic of Consciousness Prize. And I will return here to this spot once I have finished reading that full long list. But chances are I will not have very much time between finishing the long list and when the short list is announced. The short list is being announced on February 27th. It's going to take me probably right up until then to read all 10 of these amazing sounding books. So I'm not going to have a lot of time to tell you much about each of them, much about all 10 of them. So knowing that we'll be pressed for time, I have come up with a plan. This is what to expect when I come back to this chair once I have finished reading the long list. Step number 1, me of the future will share a very quick summary of each of the 10 books on the long list. Step number 2, me of the future will do a rapid fire session of 3 words that come to mind when I think of each of these 10 books. 3 words only for every book. Step number 3, I will do the second rapid fire round where I share the one word, the single word that comes to mind when I think of each of these 10 books. Step number 4, I will share with you before the official shortlist is announced, I will share with you my personal shortlist, the 5 books that I enjoyed reading the most. Step number 5, we will do a live reaction, if at all possible, of the judges' shortlist, the official shortlist, live reaction. If you want to talk about this long list in more depth than what I've just described above, there's a Discord for that. There is a group of readers online on Discord who will be reading some, possibly all, of the long list right alongside me. And by the time the shortlist is announced, we will still be talking about all these books. So please join us if you want to learn more about each of these 10 books. And then I'll be back later on with a video to talk more in depth about the 5 shortlisted books. So stay tuned for that. Let's fast forward to future me, which will still be past me for you, but future me for me, and talk about these long listed books. Here it is, the long list for the Republic of Consciousness Prize for the US and Canada for this year. I just finished reading this year's long list within the past hour, not even within the past hour. I finished the last book on the list, and I have to say that after having read the long list for the past 3 years, since the inaugural prize list, this is my favorite of the 3 long lists by far. And they've all been amazing. They've all been amazing, but this is my favorite. This was such an incredible reading experience, reading these 10 books the last 2 months, not even 2 months. I've loved every single one of these books. And I know there's actually some books on here that are a little bit polarizing. Not everybody has loved every book on this list, but I did. And I have to say that I could make an argument. I could come up with an argument for any one of these books making the short list. Any one of them. And I think I've said that every year. And I think maybe in past years I was just being nice. I was just saying, oh, any of these all were so good. I could see any of them making the short list. I could actually make an argument for any one of these 10 books being on the shortlist. I think I could come up with a good argument. The shortlist is announced tomorrow. Today is February 26th. Tomorrow is February 27th when the shortlist will be announced. I want to come on here today to share with you my personal shortlist. Not the shortlist that I think, not the shortlist I predict, but my personal shortlist. If I were to pick my 5 favorite books from this group, and this was a hard exercise. I want to share them with you, but I want to share a little bit about each of these books super quickly. I'll share the title. You can see the author, translator, and publisher in the description below. We'll go through these quickly. I'll share my shortlist with you, and then we'll come back tomorrow and you'll see my reaction to the actual judges' shortlist. Like a Sky Inside is a gem of a little book that is about a woman, probably in her 30s, who is a writer and has been offered the opportunity to spend the night alone in the Louvre in Paris in order to complete a writing project. Little does the museum know that when she was a child, this woman's father used to ask her, "And you, how would you go about stealing the Mona Lisa?" Gifted is narrated by a young woman who works as a hostess in Tokyo and lives in the red light district, and her mother is dying from cancer, and her mother has just moved in with her in her apartment, and this tells the story of their last days and weeks together, and also goes back into their past, where you learn a bit more about the abusive nature of their relationship, and among other things. Tidal Lock is also a story narrated by a young woman, and when you open, you learn that this young woman is kind of grappling with the disappearance of her father. She's also living with a woman who is being supported by a woman who claims to be her mother, but the narrator says that this is not her mother. And it's very surreal and strange, and you're navigating through kind of the memories and thoughts of this young woman in these, I guess you would call them vignettes. They're these little sections with headers. Over the course of the book, you learn, everything becomes more and more clear of what actually is going on. Melvill is narrated by Herman Melvill. It is the story of his father, Alan Melvill, who died shortly after crossing the frozen Hudson River, and when Melvill was a child, and when Herman Melvill was a child. And this is kind of a recreation of what their life and story could have been together. Herman Melvill is kind of recreating his memory of his father. The Case of Jem. This is a Bulgarian novel. It was published in 1967 or 1968 in Bulgaria. This is the first time it's been translated into English. It takes place, however, in 1481, or starts out in 1481, and centers on the true historical story of the two sons of Sultan Mehmed. What's his name? Sultan Mehmed. The two sons of Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror. So the Sultan dies and his two sons vie for the throne, and the younger of the two sons, Jem, flees to Europe, where he basically becomes a pawn for the various European powers. And ultimately, this is an exploration of a moment in time when the definitions of East and West were becoming much more stark, like a much more clear definition of the idea of the East versus the West. But also hidden in here are kind of allusions to Cold War Europe as well, because remember, this was written in Bulgaria in the 60s, and it's considered a Bulgarian masterpiece. Also, it's told in a chorus of voices, like a polyphonic novel told from various witnesses who knew Jem and were involved somehow in the case of Jem, and the only person you don't ever actually hear from is Jem himself. Lublin. This is a story that takes place in the early 1900s in Poland, and it follows three Jewish boys as they venture out on a journey to Lublin. They want to kind of make a name for themselves selling paintbrushes there. And so they start off on this journey together, and they're three friends, two of them are cousins, and they start off and they encounter all sorts of obstacles on the way. And it is both charming and devastating and funny and horrific and amazing. Your Absence is Darkness starts out with a man waking up in a church with absolutely no memory. There's one other person in the church behind him who may or may not be the devil. And from there, this man exits the church and finds himself in a small farming community in Iceland, and he tries to reconstruct who he is. by his interactions with the local people there, and you follow their stories of the people that are living at the time that this man wakes up in the church, but then you go back generations and generations and generations to learn the stories of many of the people who call this little corner of Iceland home. Lesser Ruins is a book narrated by a man, a scholar, who wishes only to finish his masterpiece, his book-length essay about the work of Montaigne, but things just keep getting in the way and taking up all his time, not least of which is the grief he is dealing with from the recent death of his wife, and also phone calls from his son who won't shut up about his obsession with house music, and also the fact that he drinks coffee and is obsessed with coffee and talks incessantly about coffee. And finally, To and Fro, or Fro and To, which is a novel with two beginnings and no end that can be read from either direction. Both stories in here are about young girls. There's two young girls. The first, or one of the stories, is more of a parable about a young girl on a physical journey. She's actually on a road, on a journey. And the other is a young girl who lives in New York City with her family, and she's on more of a creative, philosophical, religious, spiritual journey. And there are amazing links and little clues between the two stories that link them together forever. All right, very quickly, that's the long list. I'm going to share 3 words that define each book for me. Melvill, Frozen River Crossing. Tidal, Notice What's Missing. Gifted, mother-daughter dysfunction. Like a Sky Inside. Museum vandalism, maybe. Your Absence is Darkness. Sex, Death, Iceland. Lublin. Youth's Impossible Journey. Oh, The Case of Jem. Sadi, don't. To and Fro. To and Fro. Lesser Ruins. Coffee. We're gonna do that again, but it's gonna be one word. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Death. 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 Exile, maybe? Probably death. Maybe not. No. Ice. We're gonna go with ice. Art. Buttons. This one's hard. I would have to say journey. And then finally, To and Fro. Okay, love. No. All right. My personal short list. Here it is. This is it. These were my favorite reading experiences for my own personal self. These are not what I necessarily think the judges are going to pick, but my favorite books from the list were, and I loved all of them. Don't forget that. I loved all of them. But my favorite were Lesser Ruins, top favorite. Tidal, most surprising favorite. It wasn't my favorite until the last third of it. But then, yeah, it was really good. Lublin, so good. 1 second. To and Fro. I debated between this one and another one of the books. I forgot. We've missed a book. Okay, Overstaying. I've missed a book. Overstaying is a book about a visitor who comes to stay with a woman who lives in a small town, and she invites him to stay in her house, and it's very surreal, and eventually she doesn't want him there anymore, and then he leaves. He leaves, and then she leaves. Okay, that's the book. The 3 words would be, what are the 3 words? House guests are weird, and the 1 word would be imposition, which is a cheat kind of, because I think that's what the German title actually translates to. It was written in German, and I think the German title translates to imposition, and they changed it to overstaying in English. So that's a single word. Okay, yes. And then my last book, you said To and Fro on my short list. Sorry, I got to take my kiddo to the orthodontist, so I'm going as fast as I can. And finally, Your Absence is Darkness. So beautiful. But yeah, that is my personal short list. I would say I would switch one of these out probably for Overstaying for what I would guess the judges would pick. But my personal short list, again, Lesser Ruins, Tidal Lock, Lublin, To and Fro, and Your Absence is Darkness. Highly recommend these books. Check them out, please. They're amazing. Okay, we're going to the orthodontist. Talk to you later. Bye. I can't take it anymore. The shortlist has made it out into the world. My spouse is still on endless meetings, and I have no self-control, and I keep going online and accidentally seeing books that have been shortlisted. So I know 2 of the 5 that have been shortlisted. It is my own fault. I have no self-control. Yeah, I know 2, and I'm really excited about both of those. I'm going to tell you about those 2, and then we're going to look at the last of the list together. The first on the list is Your Absence is Darkness. I am going to talk more in depth about each of these books in a later video, so I'm not going to go into depth here, but you need to read this book. This book is so beautiful. It is smart too. It's got lots of interesting things to say about narration and writing, so that's right up my alley about like where inspiration and stories come from, but also it is a beautiful depiction of this corner of Iceland, and it has all the feels. I felt a lot of deep emotion while reading this beautiful book. Also on the short list that I have accidentally seen, I am very, very excited to see this on the short list. This was originally on my short list. It was, just believe me. And I substituted it out for Tidal Lock because that was the last book that I finished, and I was so confused at the beginning of Tidal Lock, and then things start to like crystallize and clarify towards the end of that book, and I think that just like blew me away so much when that happened that I was like, oh, I think this might be on my short list, when originally this amazing, amazing book was one that I was so in love with as I was reading it. I read it so fast, even though it's like super chunky. And again, this one also has all the feels, especially towards the end, if you couldn't tell from my 3-word choice when I spoke to you all yesterday. It's so good. That's that. Let's see if we can figure out how to find the shortlist, because it's not on their website, at least not 10 minutes ago when I last checked, but it's being shared by the publishers. So yeah, let's see if we can find it. Okay. Maybe it's on there now. Let's look. Keep checking my email. It's not there. So it's not on their website, but people are talking about it. How can I get to Instagram? I'm so old. Oh, I'm not logged in here. How am I going to do this? I need my phone. Biblioasis Instagram. Well, wait, I know the Biblio. Can I see it? Let's just see. Okay, so I can see that it was shortlisted. All right, we're just going to look up Instagram and each of them. Okay, let's see. Transit books. Instagram transit books. Let's see. Nothing there. Okay, who else have we got? Bellevue Literary Press. Oh, no, Instagram. With Instagram. Nothing there. Okay. Coffee House Press. Wait. Is it shortlist? Okay, oh, my favorite of all the books. Lesser Ruins is on the shortlist. Yes. Oh, yay. Okay. This book, I didn't adequately describe it yesterday. It is so funny and so sad, and it has very long, amazing sentences. And if you've been here before, you maybe know that I am really into super long, ridiculously long sentences, as long as they're well written. But there's a clarity to this. It's not hard to read. This is not a hard book. It just has very, very, very long sentences because this narrator is extremely passionate about the things that he's passionate about. And this is delightful. Yes. Oh, that's exciting. I'm happy now because 3 of my very favorite books are on the short list. Let's see, Instagram, open letter books. Okay, I don't see it there. Oh, wait. Huh? Hello. I think Melvill, it says shortlisted. Oh my God, I think Melvill is shortlisted. Oh my gosh. Confirmed. Yep, this is shortlisted. This is a good book. It is just, okay, I just said Lesser Ruins has long sentences, but is easy to read. Not easy to read. Not easy to read. It is brilliant. But I don't know if this would be everybody's cup of tea. The footnotes are what make this book, in my opinion. I love the footnotes. Yeah. So it's got, especially like the middle section, there's like a fever dream. Like for the whole middle section, it's like this fever dream. It takes a lot to get through, for sure. So yeah, whoa, Melvill. I'm not surprised, actually, that this is on the list because it's such a smart book. I definitely felt that I was not smart while reading this book. Definitely did not feel like I was the smartest of people. Yeah. All right. Okie dokie. I can't find any more. Okay. We're back because I couldn't figure it out. My very antiquated method of trying to figure it out. So I just went and I looked it up on my phone and we're back here now. So I know that this is the final shortlisted book, Like a Sky Inside. And now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense that this is on the short list. This was a beautiful book and I loved the ending. I really, really, really loved the ending. I think this was actually part of a project where several different types of artists, I don't know if they were all writers, but several artists were sent to go stay the night in a museum. I don't think it was all the Louvre, but they were all sent to stay the night in a museum and then produce something out of it. I don't know if it was writing, but something produced out of that experience of staying the night in a museum. And this is the product. This is one of the products of that kind of experiment. This one is the kind of book that leaves you thinking. Like it gives you enough space to think about it for a long time after you have finished it, which is a kind of book that I love. Okay, let's get the short list together. This was a disaster. I think you would be delighted to read any one of these books. Honestly, Melvill is really hard. Your Absence's Darkness is beautiful and emotional. The Case of Jem is like, it's historical fiction, but it's really different and really got me in the feels in the end as well. Lesser Ruins is some of the funniest writing I've read in a really long time, but also some of the saddest, which is my favorite combination. And Like a Sky Inside, it just leaves so much room for interpretation and for thought. So this is a fan-freaking-tastic list. I'm a little surprised that Lublin didn't make the list. This is also a very good book. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend. To and Fro is a delight. This is a delightful book. Read this book. I was sure that Overstaying was going to be on the short list. This is kind of the absurdist, surreal work that I thought, like prize judges would want to throw on a short list. Okay, where's the short list again? Oh, great short list. Oh, great long list. Great nominees. Oh my God, I've been reading some of the books that were nominated but didn't even make it to the long list. There are some freaking good books that were just nominated. Us Fools and The Lodgers in particular, especially The Lodgers by Holly Pester. I loved that book. I just started another one this morning that was nominated but didn't make the long list, and it's really good so far. It's A Wounded Deer Leaps Highest. I'm looking over that way because it's just sitting right over there. I'm not going to get up to get it. Come back. We'll talk more about this shortlist. Join the Discord where we will talk more about these books in depth, greater depth. I'll leave the link below if you want to see more of my videos, more content about the Republic of Consciousness Prize, both in the US and in the UK. I will leave that playlist below. I have 4 of the 5 shortlisted UK books, actually. Let's go get them. I'll just go get them. Here's 4 of the books that were shortlisted for the UK Republic of Consciousness Prize. That shortlist was just announced as well. We have Mother Naked, There's a Monster Behind the Door, Selena, and Invisible Dogs. And interestingly, There's a Monster Behind the Door was also longlisted for the International Booker Prize this week. So some crossover there. Join us on Discord. I'll see you over there. My name is Sarah, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.